As a self-proclaimed grocery addict, there's nothing more than I love the thrill of the hunt, finding good deals, bargains. It makes me feel like I'm winning. And what is the greatest compilation of all of that? The Price is Right. I made a lifelong dream come true to go to a taping of The Price is Right. Not only did I get to do it, but I did it with my bestie. When I got the chance to go to a taping, I was all in. And I'm going to take you from standing in that very first line up to the taping starting. And I'm going to share with you what the process is like, the selection process, so that if you're going, you can ease your mind, have a little bit more of an idea of what to expect. If it's on your bucket list, I'm telling you, go, because I loved every minute of it and I cannot wait to go again. Whether you are a die-hard Price is Right fan, you grew up watching it on your sick days, or you just love fun, unique experiences, this is definitely bucket list worthy. So let's get into it. First of all, we arrived via Lyft. We didn't want to deal with driving and trying to figure things out as out-of-towners. So we had Lyft pick us up from breakfast. We had the address right on our line voucher and they took us right there. It was super simple, no stress, and the traffic wasn't too bad. We went to an 8 a.m. taping. We were supposed to be in line by 8 a.m. and we got there a little early. We got there at 7:20. But here's the funny thing. We weren't the first people to arrive. When you get to the parking lot, there are immediately signs all over. They tell you exactly where to go. Price is Right contestant, arrow this way. You start walking that way, another sign tells you. You kind of wind in and out and you arrive at a giant church. That's where all of this takes place, just outside of the studio. So outside of the studio, there is a church where they hold the whole audition process, filling out the paperwork, and you don't go on to studio until the very last minute because that's where they take all of your stuff, your phone, your smartwatch, all of that. But we'll get to that. You start at the church, and when you arrive, you follow the signs, take a few pictures if you're like us, your adrenaline's starting to get pumped up, and you can't believe you're there. Getting there was low stress. The address, GPS makes it magic, and we got there no problem. Upon arriving, they asked for my voucher. I had the priority ticket voucher. I showed it to them. He looked at our voucher. He sent us to the next person who was right next to him, and they handed us 2 numbers. One for each of us. I was 23, and Gentry, my bestie, was number 22. So that meant there were 21 people ahead of us. We got there at 7:20. They got there earlier. If you're watching older videos, which we saw on our way, they say there's about 300 people in the audience. That is not the case anymore. We only had about 135 people at our taping, and I think the maximum is like 160 to 180. I could be wrong, but they can add more chairs, but we only had about 135. So this new studio at Haven is much smaller than the Bob Barker studio, and that means there's less competition, so that's cool. Once they hand out numbers, you start to wait in line. You do a lot of waiting in line, and if you're fun and energetic, it's actually a really fun process because I'm not standing in line with people that don't care about The Price is Right. I'm standing in line with a lot of other people that are excited to be there, and the energy is palpable and you start to feed off of each other. So not only am I with my bestie and her and I are doing our girl trip thing, we're having fun together, but we're with other like-minded people that are excited about the possibility of being on TV, the possibility of being on stage and meeting Drew and meeting George and seeing the set and playing the games and what games are they going to have today? Who's going to win what? Will I get called? The entire thing was so exciting to me because it's been a lifelong dream, and here I was like waiting for it all to unfold. Every new step was exciting to me, so waiting in line was actually quite fun. Plus, I went to LA in December, and even though it was a chilly morning there, it felt like heaven to me because I wasn't in Michigan December cold. So it was all around a win. My goal was to enjoy every second, and it wasn't hard to meet that goal because the energy was electric. They had Price is Right pages all over, different parts, telling you what to do, where to wait. And to be honest, I think the moment you arrive, they are trying to see who has energy, who's having fun, who's socializing with other people, who's encouraging other people. This is all my assumption here, but I had a lot of fun getting to know other people, getting excited, not just sticking to myself. It was a lot of fun waiting in line, and that's good because you do a lot of it. Once it was time to move forward, this is still pre 8 a.m., but we had to stay in line number order. We started going in groups to fill out paperwork. Now, thankfully, because it's 2025, it's all electronic. You sit at a computer, and there were 2 sides. one over here with a CVS employee, one over here with a CVS employee, and they tell you line by line, fill out this, put your full name, don't use nicknames, it must match your ID. You have to have your ID. That is important. Do not go without your license. You have to say if you've ever won prizes, have you ever been on The Price is Right? Have you ever been on Let's Make a Deal? You sign a non-disclosure agreement. There's a lot of paperwork that you fill out sitting there waiting to get to the next step. They verify that you are filling it out, that you match your ID photo, matches what you put on the paperwork, and you submit it. It's a digital signature, and then you move on to the next step. It was very easy. Someone there to hold your hand if you have any questions, but it was just a necessary part of the process because if you go there and you win big, they need your permission to use your likeness, to award prizes, that you say you're not going to tell anyone what happens before the game goes out. There's all of these disclosures. It's simple, but necessary. And honestly, filling it out like I'm filling out paperwork for a TV show was super fun for me. Every bit of it was very exciting, if you can't tell. Now this part was super fun. It's iconic. Your name written in black permanent marker, and they just had 2 pages sitting there. They'd take your license and write exactly what your first name is on your license. My real name is Jackie. It's not Jacqueline, and they wrote Jackie. You cannot ask for a nickname. They don't shorten names. They write exactly what your first name is. So, like I saw in an old episode, there was a girl named Star Player, which is amazing to go on a game show with that being her name. She didn't put that out there trying to be cute for the TV show. That is her legal name. When they call you, they literally only call your legal name. So when you see these names that are super scrunched in there and hard to write and you think, why didn't they give them a nickname? There's no choice. Your full legal first name is on there. I even got to record them writing it. She said, absolutely, go ahead. You can have your phone this entire process. They like to see you documenting and sharing things, and I had fun sharing a little behind the scenes on Instagram. And it's fun to look back and see them writing my name. And sometimes they mess up. They have a discard pile. It was a fun thing. It was iconic. And yes, I still have my sticker. So from that point forward, you have your name sticker and you have your number sticker. Up until right before recording starts, you are wearing both of them. So not only was I Jackie, but I was number 23, which I took as a good sign because my daughter's birthday is January 23rd. And I just have liked that number since then. So after you sign the agreements and you get your name badge, you stand in line again. And yes, you still stand in numerical order. They try very hard to keep you in number order. And at this point, you're really hoping you like the people you're in line with, which I did. We had a family in front of us, and the parents lived in Colorado, the son lived in Arizona, and the daughter lived in LA. It was fun to get to know them. It was really fun to see how far and wide people travel from. The family behind us was there from Oregon, and they traveled to come to the show. It was just super fun to see all of these different people from South Dakota, New York, all over coming just like us, excited to get this experience. Once we were in that line, they eventually opened the doors to the church, and I think this happened pretty close to the 8 a.m. mark. I'm not sure that they open the doors, but then they only start to let people in groups because, again, there's more of a process inside. Once you're inside, you stand and you wait for them to scan your ID. They have little tables set up and they scan your actual ID. You have to be there. They said Michigan always gives them problems, but you know, we got through it. And this is where they officially log you, match it to your paperwork, I'm assuming, but there's some fun photo props on there. So once they open the doors, we weren't immediately inside. Thankfully, it was a great sunny day, but as you finally get inside, there are some showcase podiums and a $25,000 Drew dollar, just fun things that you can take pictures with. There's also restrooms inside, and once you scan your ID, you then go wait again in the numerical order. They tell you, okay, go down this aisle, and they fill it up. And this is a point where you can go use the restrooms. They have coffee, they have snacks, and they have workers in there that are kind of hyping people up, answering questions, helping you to know, can I go stand here? And once they start to fill up this area, remember, I was number 22. If we had 135 people, I have to wait for 135 people, well, 110 behind me, to get their IDs scanned and to come stand in line. They start the next process, which is 1, you're waiting, doing all the bathroom breaks, snacky type things. But then 2, they eventually have a producer or a couple of producers in a room, and they start to send you in groups of about 10-ish. It kind of depends on parties. So if there were maybe 3 parties of 4, it could be a group of 12. But they send you in with your party and they ask you questions. And before you go in, the gentleman, his name I think was Ben. I'm sorry, Ben, if I'm not remembering right, but he was really kind, and he's like, okay, go in there excited. Show them you're happy to be here. Cheer for other people as they answer their questions. Don't just be excited your time. Be excited for other people. So I took that to heart. I cheered for people, clapped. I'm excited going in. And the tips that I can give are to just be yourself, be genuine. I'm a goofy person. I'm a smiley person. I like having fun. I was genuinely enjoying this process. Don't go in trying to pretend you're someone that you're not. Be yourself, because if you watch The Price is Right, it's not all the same type of person that goes up there. They have goofy, they have crazy, they have like the shy giggly. There's so many different people that can enjoy the show, and people like to see themselves on stage. Not every single person's a go crazy type person. So be yourself, be authentic, be someone that you can live up to with the producers and on stage. Being yourself, I think, is really, really important, but also confident, like a confident version of yourself. Like, yep, this is who I am and I'm going to share it with you. I don't know. That's just my own tip. I went in and they either ask you a question about yourself or say, tell me about yourself. And then they might ask a follow-on question. So for myself, I said, I'm here with my best friend. She had just gone before me. We're on a girls trip and I am a stay-at-home mom turned YouTuber. And then I thought it sounded like I gave up my kids. So I was like, well, I didn't give up the kids. I still deal with them too and do YouTube. And she asked me what my YouTube channels were about. I said grocery shopping and intermittent fasting. I have 2 of them. And they said, great. And that was it. I was the last person and we filed out and I clapped and we left. It was a very short process. Imagine that line of questioning times 10. We had people talk about their studies or what they do for a living, or if they're retired, what they do in retirement. It was just super simple softball questions. I think answering with confidence and humor or fun can be great, but that was it. But after that, remember, I'm number 23. There's 135 people that they do this with. So we go back and we sit. I got some coffee. Obviously, I love my coffee. They had snacks. I grabbed a snack, but I was too excited to eat. And we just enjoyed sitting there. They had on a projection screen, eventually they played an entire episode of The Price is Right. And I cheered, I watched it, I talked with my fellow people. Gentry and I had conversation. We went to the bathroom, we came back. You have to stay in your same seats and you stay in order. And once everyone goes through the audition process, they say, did we miss anyone? Is there anyone that we didn't talk to with the producers? And we didn't have anyone that was missed, but I think it's great that they capture anyone that may have been in the restroom when their numbers went. And they make sure everyone gets a chance to see the producers, to sell themselves. They don't say that, but that's kind of how it's like. You're putting yourself out there, you know that's the time, but truthfully, I think from the moment you are in line, they are watching, they are paying attention. Can this person hold energy? Are they authentically excited to be here? Are they gonna be kind and courteous? And, you know, even if a prize that you don't want to win is on stage, are you gonna be super grumpy? Or are you gonna be someone that keeps the energy high? I just think that you are watched. There are so many employees throughout the entire process. I'd imagine that you are watched the entire process. And for me, I didn't care because guess what? I was super excited the entire time because I authentically loved the process. And just knowing I was a part of a show that I wanted to go to for so long, super, super exciting. And by saying being a part of it, I mean like just going to a taping. Like this is a dream come true. So every moment was exciting to see what was happening next, what was going to happen. And after all the interviews, they have this gentleman, I don't know his name, but he was hyping us up, playing different music. There was also a girl between the 2 of them, dancing, grooving, having fun. They played different musics, like Pour Some Sugar on Me Baby, and songs that most people would know. And we were just, it was like a big hype dance party. It was a lot of fun. When I told my husband about this, he told me it sounded awful and that he would have hated that. And I'm like, well, maybe that's how they weed out people. But I personally loved it. It was so much fun. Again, the energy was, you could feel it. It was exciting. And I was so excited to be a part of it. Honestly, it just reminded me of like a high school dance all over again. A lot of the songs were played at my high school dances and everyone was just like in it together. No one was actually like, wow, she does not have moves, because they were just enjoying themselves, not paying attention to me. After all of that excitement, we got in line again, you guessed it, and we walked from the church parking lot to the studios. Now, I've wondered a few times what happens if it's raining with the time that you stand outside, but we didn't have any issues. It was nice and sunny, so thank you, California, for that. But we walked and we stood in line again, no surprise, but as you stand in line, First, you have to forfeit your smartwatches. I couldn't wear my Apple Watch. You can't have any sort of smart device, including your phone, and they put it in jail. So as I handed over my phone, I said, here's my felonious phone. And, you know, I'm just trying to have fun the entire time. They lock it in a bag, give you a ticket that corresponds with the ticket in the bag, and you get those back at the end. It went smooth both ways. And if you have any problem giving your phone over, don't go, because they take it. Or just don't take it to the taping. But I got lots of great pictures and moments leading up to that, so I had no problem handing over my phone. You turn it off, you hand it over, and then you get it back after the taping, but nothing is allowed on stage. They don't want cheating. They don't want people sharing behind the scenes stuff. And I think it's reasonable when you think about it. It's just a little hard in 2025 to give up your phone. I get it. But all of that led up to the best moment. Nothing could have prepared me for the excitement and awe that I felt in my chest of walking into the actual studio. So we first passed Let's Make a Deal, was right there. I was like, oh my gosh, hello, I know that set. You only saw parts of it, but I saw the giant Let's Make a Deal blue sign. And then we walked through and you kind of snake around and you see some different behind the scenes stuff, but not a ton. And all of a sudden you are at the very back. So imagine them showing a prize, like a travel prize at the back screen. You're right there. And there's the giant geometric patterns and the flowers everywhere and all the bright colors. And it hits you like, OMG, I am on the Price is Right set. Like literally this is happening. It was so exciting. And the action starts. They say, okay, how many in your party? And there's producers up front and cameras everywhere. I cannot believe the amount of employees that they have here. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe it because the stage and the set looks so clean. You don't realize how many employees, how many cameras, how many cords are everywhere unless you're actually there. I absolutely loved it. Like that was so fun to see the process of making it and how many hands it took. It was just very cool. But as soon as you're there, you realize the amount of people in this small space because the studio is very small. It felt very small to me, very intimate, and I was surprised. So as soon as you go, they're like, how many in your party? Okay, you two over here. And then we started walking here and then they sent us to different seats. You are told exactly where to sit. And then they start filling in around you and they try to pay attention. And like we had one person sit next to us. She was a party of one, and then they try to fill in. We had a party of two next to us on this way. And all of the seats are pretty close together. It looks much bigger on TV to me than it felt in person. I'm telling you, they're watching. The producers are up there. I stood and I had fun the entire time waiting. Gentry and I soaked it all in. We had a great time together talking, kind of thinking, okay, oh, look, that family sitting in the front row. The people right behind us in line, like numerically, they were sitting in the front row. And I was excited because she was very excited to be at the taping. So she got a front row seat and all of the different seats filling in and trying to guess what's going to happen next. Wonder who are we going to see when? It was just very exciting. One thing is they do have bathrooms accessible during the show, but they tell you if your name is called and you're chewing gum, you're not coming on stage. If your name is called and you're in the bathroom, you miss your opportunity. So they tell you all of these things as they gear up for getting on stage. It's very fun. And it's very loud. Watching the live show was absolutely incredible. The energy of the audience is true. It is such an exciting time. Seeing what happens when breaks, when a game ends, and then moving things. I loved every second of it. Seeing how many cameras there were. Seeing Drew come into the audience and talk to people in between games. Every second of it was fun. And if I had the opportunity to do it again, I absolutely would. I would love to go again. It's back on the bucket list. If you came here looking for Price is Right information, but you also love to grocery shop and meal plan and do hauls just like me, that's one of the reasons I love the Price is Right. I like the pricing games, the groceries, seeing new products, seeing new things. We are probably kindred spirits and you might like sticking around for all of my grocery goodness. Going to a taping of The Price is Right is every single thing that I hope for. And if you think it sounds exciting and now you want to go, here's exactly how you get tickets. It's free, it's easy, and I highly recommend going if it's something of interest to you. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao, Donna, ciao.